Hi, I'm Kaylee and I am filming a second hair video on my sick day because I don't know how to let myself rest. In the other video that I'm filming today, and that should be up already, I'm styling my Dolce & Dolce 23 in iced lavender latte to have nice, like fluffy but tighter, wavy curls. Like it's a casual look. For this wig, I want to do something different. So this wig used to have loose curls in it, and it still kind of does, but they've really fallen out and the ends are getting frizzy because of how much I've worn it. So it has to be restyled, and I am going to give it new loose curls, hopefully something similar to this. And this wig that's being curled is the Camellia from Belle Tress. It doesn't actually come styled like this. It is a very curly wig. It has really big spiral defined curls and it's really pretty, but when I restyled it the first time, now when I curl I always straighten the wigs first, and I straightened it and I thought it looked really pretty straight, and I did eventually recurl it with the big spiral curls, but I've really settled on liking it more like this. I feel like it's more wearable like this. So let's pop that on the wig stand and go over what I use for these curls. Now these are the clips that I always use. There's some kind of alligator clip, I think. I just really like them. I feel like they hold the hair in place really well. Then I have two combs. I have my wide tooth comb for generally brushing through, but for the most part, I'm gonna be using this one. This is a little metal comb, and I just feel like it's really sturdy for getting through some of the tangles that I wind up with in my synthetic wigs. And then the heat tools. First one is gonna be our flat iron, just a standard flat iron. Nothing unusual or special about it. And then I'm going to use a large barrel curling iron. Now getting started on the hair itself, I always like to divide it into two halves. So I separate it down the back, pull it apart, and then clip off the half that we're not going to be working with. So I've clipped off this half and I'm going to be working on this half. I like to work from the bottom up. So I'm just going to section off something along the bottom here. Enough for one or two curls, and that's going to be the first section that we're working with. And the upper section can just be clipped up top. The main reason I really restyle these is just because of how nasty the ends get. Once you've been combing through them and pulling at them, detangling them, it starts to get kind of fuzzy. Like the fibers get a little bit curled or kinky, and then it's all over. Everything is tangled all the time. So we have to go through and make sure that those are dealt with before we start curling it again. I started with the gold comb, and I do start at the top and work my way down. I know a lot of people say to start at the bottom and work your way up, but I feel like as long as I'm pretty gentle, it's not gonna cause more damage. And it doesn't matter all that much since I'm about to iron everything out with the flat iron anyway. Once that feels reasonably detangled, then we can move on to heat. And I just start at the top and slowly move down. And as I get close to the end, I slow down a little more because that's the part where I really want the heat to do its thing. Those are the fibers that really need to be flat ironed. Those are the ones that we're trying to smooth out. And you don't have to worry about getting all the curls out. The flat ironing isn't to remove the old curls because you're just gonna curl again anyway, so the old curl doesn't really matter. The flat iron is just to get those fibers back into a smoother condition. And once things are feeling much better, once it's feeling smoother and it's easier to get your fingers through the hair, especially at the ends, then we can move on to the next section. Before moving on to the next section, I do clip the lower one just to keep it out of the way and so it doesn't get mixed back up in the section that we're working with. And then I'm just gonna go through and section off another row, and it doesn't have to be tidy or precise by any means. It could be because the wefts are there, it's easy to separate them out, but it doesn't really matter. Just eyeball it. I aim for about 2 inches tall, but as long as you have sections that are easy for you to work with, that's the important thing. And then again, I pin that section up. I work from the back and I will section off again a smaller area to work with. And then I'll do to this the same that we did down here. And I'm just gonna keep doing that until the whole wig is nice and smooth. This is what it looks like when I'm done smoothing it out. It doesn't look totally perfectly straight. There's still a little bit of curve in some areas, but the ends feel a lot smoother. They feel a lot less frizzy, a lot less crispy. So this is the goal. Moving on to the curling portion, I'm just gonna separate this into 2 halves again, and again, clip off the side that I'm not working with. On the side I am working with, I'm gonna take that section at the bottom again, and it's just enough for one curl, maybe two. And sometimes it does take a little bit of experimentation just to get the curls looking right, because it really depends on how much hair you're using when you make this single curl. It depends on how long you let it cool. So sometimes you don't know exactly how it's gonna turn out until you try that curl. And if it doesn't look the way you want it, you tweak some things. I am gonna use my little heat glove for this. This is just a glove with little rubbery dots on it. It helps prevent burns. It makes it so that you can really hold the hair in your hand without it being incredibly uncomfortable. This is a fairly large section of hair. Ideally, I like the sections to be bigger lengthwise than they are widthwise, but for this little bottom section, it's a little bit tricky to get that. So I just portion off this section and do whatever I can with it. I find that the lower sections at the back tend to be the ones that fall flat the fastest because they have the most friction against your back. They have to be brushed through the most. So I do try to apply lots of heat, hold it in my hand until it's almost all the way cool. That way, hopefully it'll last a little bit longer. Now I like my curls to go away from the face and toward the back of the head. So this is my working side and my part is over here. So that means I'm gonna want the clamp of my curling iron to be on the front of the hair from your view, and the barrel is closer to the part in the back. And I just clamp down, and we sort of season the hair by dragging it like this. When I'm halfway or a little bit further, I'll start rolling up. And I do want the hair to look fairly flat under the barrel, so I don't want it thick and round like I do on a curling wand. On here, I want it nice and flat because that's gonna give me the curl that I'm looking for. And I do leave a bit of a tail sticking out, but not as much as when I'm using a curling wand. It's about 3/4 of an inch for most of it. There's a few hairs that are a little longer, but it's just a small tail. When I feel like that's been on long enough, the curl is nice and hot, I'm gonna slowly release the hair by wiggling the clamp, just sort of like this. Slide it out, and then I hold it in my hand. And I do want it to look quite round. I don't know if I can do it without ruining it, tipping it so you can see. So I want it nice and round. I don't want it warped. I don't want to press it into an oval. You can fix it with your fingers if it looks a little bit misshapen. And then we just wait. Sometimes I blow on the hair because I'm so impatient. I just don't want to wait for it to cool, but I'm not going to do that while I'm feeling sick because sometimes it makes me feel dizzy. Okay, and if we just let that go, we wind up with a curl like this. And this curl's not bad. It's got like a flatness to it that you get from curling iron curls, unlike the thicker, fluffier curls that you get when you're using a curling wand. But I feel like it's a little more defined than I'd like. So I'm gonna try this particular curl again. Same way again, with the clamp facing more to the front and the barrel toward the back of the head, going down halfway, and then rolling through, slowly pulling down until all the hair is in the curling iron, except for that little tail. And I'm not gonna pull it all the way up to the top this time because the look that I want is sort of like a loose curl that's just at the bottom, sort of like Sleeping Beauty. Okay, and then if I release it and just hold it for a couple seconds before I let it go, fan it a little. If I let it go now, that's better. This is more what I want. So it's just the lower portion curled and it's nice and loose. One thing I've noticed with curling irons though, is sometimes we get these wonky little sections. So it doesn't look straight here. There's like a little bump here that I don't love. And because my curl is focused more toward the bottom, I'm gonna go in with my curling iron and just sort of drag through that section to try and smooth it out. I wanna stop well above where the curl actually is, just so we get a smoother top. So the process that I just did for that one section is what I'm gonna do for the whole rest of the wig. And I'm gonna section it off the same way that I did when I was straightening it, which is taking a section horizontally across the wig and then smaller sections from that for the individual curls. And I'm gonna do medium to large sections to get this sort of curl shape. And when I get to the other side of the wig, I'm gonna do the curls in the other direction. I often find that curls seem to all be in the same direction all the way around the wig when I buy them. So I don't love that. I don't love having curls on one side going toward my face and on the other side going away from my face. So that's why I separate it in half, so that both sides are going away from my face and they sort of meet in the back. And I hold it upside down just so that it's easier to get the hair off. You can do it this way if you find it's not tricky to get the hair off in a nice preserved curl, but it's just easier to slide it out this way because you can just wiggle the clamp and it'll come right off. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the whole rest of the wig, and then I'll show you what it looks like when it's all done. And I'm done, finally. These curls don't take as long as the tighter wand curls because these ones you let go while they're still warm if you want them loose like this, and I don't know, I use bigger sections. You just move through it a lot faster. For most of these, I only curled about halfway up. There are a few sections where I went higher up just as sort of, you know, accent curls to kind of stand out. They look a little more playful, but for the most part, I didn't curl all the way up. I did on the front pieces, and that's just because they're not very long. So I feel like if I only curl the lower half, it doesn't look like much. So I curl all the way up for the shorter pieces in the front. And you can see that the curls in the front on each side curl away from the face. So this goes away from the face, this goes away from the face, and then each side matches that same curl direction, and they sort of meet in the back here. You can see it at the bottom where the curls are more obvious. And we'll put it on. Woo. Oh my God, I feel like this color made me look 100 times sicker. So these curls are nice and loose. They're sort of feminine, romantic, glamorous. They're not like the wand curls that are more casual, more crazy. These are a little more low-key. So I feel like this look for a lot of people would be more wearable. It's at least, it feels more comfortable to wear because it doesn't feel like everything is tangling all the time. It doesn't tangle quite as much as the tight curls. I'm really not sure what I'm gonna do next video-wise, whether I'm gonna do a tutorial or a review or whatever, but I guess until I figure out what that's gonna be, this has been fun. This is a fun way to spend my sick day, and I think I'm gonna go rest now. Bye.